Other big story that we're following, of course, are the tariffs. Canada is reacting to this. Canada taking its fight against President Trump to the Florida highways. Take a look.
Billboards paid for by the Canadian government are popping up across the Sunshine State. Their message: tariffs are attacks on hardworking Americans. John Babcock, a spokesperson for Global Affairs Canada, says the campaign was launched to heighten the American public's understanding of tariffs. Meanwhile, President Trump is promising to usher Americans into a golden age while admitting to some short-term discomfort. The billboards have been placed in a dozen states.
Alex, how do you feel about all of this?
Good on Canada. Seriously, to go out in this way and make a statement that reminds us that tariffs are a tax, and especially, I mean, the Canadians are our friends, they're our neighbors, and especially if we want to get local here in Florida, I'm reading that almost 20% decline in the airline seats because the Canadians, the Canadians, they want to fight back, and the way they're fighting back is with their dollars and their feet, and so it's a serious problem for Florida if Canadians are not coming here and spending their money, which reverts into sales tax for Floridians. And I'm just glad to see that we're thinking and rethinking about and realizing that the Canadians should be our neighbors and our friends, and worrying a lot about these car imports and steel imports, and understanding how interconnected we are. We understand those northern states where trade is going back and forth, but those tourists coming to Florida are going to be a serious problem for our state revenues.
Danny, what's your take on this? I mean, so many people say, well, Canada has tariffs and import taxes that protect them as well.
Absolutely, and the whole world does. So, Canada and the modern world truly has gotten rich off of us, and has gotten rich off of us at an unequal and unfair advantage. In 1990, U.S. we were an exporter to 175 countries. Today, we're an exporter to 35. The tariffs that are out there are many. So what the president who ran on this said he was going to impose tariffs is imposing tariffs in a way that is making these countries come to us and say, look, we'll lower our tariffs if you lower yours. We weren't doing that before. It was completely unfair. What I will say today, though, I'm glad Canada's doing that because they're spending money with American media. So why not spend that money, put billboards on the sign, buy ads. We were watching ads on TV. I love seeing the ads. You're just like, wow, they're buying money, spending ads in America.
It's certainly a topic that's not going away anytime soon.
It has to be fair trade. President Clinton signed NAFTA back in 1994, I think it was, and I was farming at that point in time, and it was not a favorable deal for American farmer. For some, but not many. President Trump came in and did USMCA. USMCA evened the field a little bit in the farmer world and other areas, but it didn't go far enough. Tariffs were still there. Mexico was importing unabated. We can't get our product into Mexico without tariffs. That had to change. And the president today has said, we're going to change that. Put those tariffs out there, threaten them. Hey, if it works, if they lower their tariffs, we lower ours. He already proved he's going to. He is dropping tariffs on countries that said they're going to do zero.
But we've also had experts say that this blanket increase of tariffs doesn't make any sense. It crashed the economy. We saw billions of dollars in value wiped out in days. And to try to pretend that this was some kind of strategy that they planned in advance, I think it doesn't fit the facts. And one of the things we need to bring to the public space is being honest about what happened. Donald Trump had been saying right up until he changed his mind about the tariffs that he wasn't going to change his mind about the tariffs. His Treasury Secretary was on TV 15 minutes before the announcement was made, saying the president was not going to change his strategy. And, it may make negotiating with these other countries a little easier, but what it also does is it makes it impossible for American businesses to plan their strategies because they don't know what the president's going to do, they don't know how it's going to affect the economy, and they don't know how it's going to affect the incomes of their customers. strategies like this don't make any sense, and trying to pretend that they do, I think, is a real problem in our public discourse.
It was a big gamble. I mean, just looking at the tariffs on China in the past week, it went from 20% to 54% to 104%. Now it's 125%. Yeah. And you know, when you look at tariffs everywhere else, you know, they're at 10% currently. But if I own a clothing store and I'm ordering clothes 5 months out, how can I tell whether I'm on the right track 5 months from now, let alone 5 minutes from now?
10% across the board for the next 90 days.
10% across
and
the
the path
board
of
for
tariffs
now.
for Canada and Mexico, which went up, and then they were rescinded, and then there was they were put in abeyance for a while, and then they came back, and you know,
75 countries have put in notice that they are interested in communicating with the U.S.
And renegotiating.
But
what will that renegotiation involve? Will there really be better terms when we're at the end of it? One of the things that we saw with Canada was that Trump insisted on terms that the Canadians were already doing. He insisted that they get tough on drug smuggling across the border, which they were already doing. So not only do we have to make sure that we're getting the true facts about what's happening with these tariffs, we have to make sure that we're getting the true facts about whatever deals get cut. Will the administration be honest about the terms and whether they're any better than what they had before the negotiation? Or is this about saving face and saying, well, we had negotiations and now we have a better deal? We'll prove it. Prove that we had a better deal.
Businesses cannot plan around chaos and uncertainty, and so regardless of what he says today, we know within 15 minutes he might change his mind again.
I guess that's the art of the deal, and we just didn't know all along.
Better terms for who? So better terms for who? Better terms for the world, or better terms for American business? Yes, there may be some short-term pain that we go through as a country, but we've been under pain for many years. So let's go through that short-term pain, and let's see what 3 months from now, 6 months from now dictates and brings to this country. Are American businesses going to be better off? I would suggest they will be.
We have the highest standard of living of any country in the whole world already.
And we can be better.
Well, of course we can be better, but it's not to say that we are hurting that bad compared to everybody else in the whole world. I'd still rather live here than any other place.
There's no reputable economist who says that this policy makes sense. If there was any indication that there was a plan that would actually work, people might be willing to go along with it. There is no reputable economist who says that what just happened over the past week makes any sense.
So nobody
and there are experts that would disagree with you, that would say these are the reasons why I support it.